Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to an unboxing for Legend of the Five Rings, the card game. It's a living card game from Fantasy Flight. So it's really fun. If you don't know what a living card game is, just a brief rundown of that is it's basically everything you buy in the box is always going to be the same, and then it comes with various expansions in smaller packs, bigger boxes that always have the exact same content. But then as different than being like a Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh game where you buy cards and have random stuff and you make your deck stuff, you buy these boxes, they'll have all the same type of cards. But then it feels it has a similar thing of then once you buy them, you still construct your own decks and then you play against other people. Just the idea is you don't have to randomly buy stuff, although depending on the version of the living card game and the sets, you may end up buying some of the packs so that way both you and your opponent can have different things and stuff like that. So this is a two-player game. Legend of the Five Rings is a very old series of games, RPGs, stories, all this other stuff that follows the control of the five legendary rings of different elements, but it also has 7 different clans in here that you get to play as. So it says like the Rokugan, the Emerald Empire is a mystical land of honor, glory, and fate. Take control of one of the 7 great clans: the crab, the crane, the dragon, the lion, the phoenix, the scorpion, or the unicorn, to strive for dominance on the battlefield and in the courts. But take heed, the pursuit of victory clans samurai must live and die following the tenets of Bushido, lest they find themselves dishonored before the emperor. So it's really neat about how this game works is it is a back and forth battling card game, but it is played in multiple different ways. Your main goal is to defeat your opponent's strongholds, which is like their base essentially. So that's your main goal, but you can also win by gaining enough honor. You have 25 honor you can win, or you can lose the game by losing all your honor. So if you do too many dishonorable actions, you can also lose the game. So there's an extra little element in there for doing stuff, so you have to kind of watch that. And then the other thing that's really neat about the game is it actually has 2 decks that you get to play as. You have your province deck, not your province deck, what is it called? Your dynasty deck. You'll have a set of dynasty decks and conflict cards. And your dynasty is more or less where you pull characters from. Characters are going to be back at your base for the long time, setting up, prepping things, and then you might send them out to do conflict. And then your conflict are cards you get to draw when you're actually doing your fighting, which might be extra characters or extra things you get to do in there. So it's a really neat system because it plays with 2 different types of decks that you're going to get to use. Dynasty deck fills your problems, characters, and holdings, and conflict decks consist of tactics, maneuvers, and tricks that can be used to turn the tide in conflict. During a game, players engage in conflict against their opponent's provinces attempt to break them. The first player to break the province that holds an opponent's stronghold wins the game. Must also monitor honor. There is a contest for others. It is possible player to win by achieving a high degree of honor to run out of shame and lose the game. So it's a really neat concept for the game. And there's some other really awesome stuff in here. So before we get too much into this, I just want to look at this. We're going to first, just in case you're just listening, we're going to go through the rules in here. I will do a second video where I go through all the cards and components and stuff. This is a layout of your board for your side of the game. So you're going to have your stronghold over here, which is like your main controlling area. Then you're going to have all of these cards with the backs on these are your strongholds or your provinces. And they stay face down, so your opponent's not going to really know what they're fighting up against until you get to them. Then you place your dynasty cards, which will have the white colored backs on top of them. They get played face down, so you can't plan too much ahead. You gotta kind of like finish off your turn, then you flip some over at the beginning of your turn. Is what you can do. Then you have your home area where you get to play. You have your conflict deck, which you'll draw during the conflict phase and then fight. So it's a pretty simple system, but there's a lot of nuances in there as well. I don't want to spend a ton of time going over every single little detail, but we do need to look at a couple of different things. So first of all, we are going to have some honor dials. is you'll keep track of various honors that you're going to try during, you're going to keep track of during a card drawing phase. And that's the only time these are keeping track of. They're for secret hand information for that, and we'll get into that in a minute. Otherwise, we have a bunch of tokens. We have a first player token here. We have a bunch of red honor tokens, which on the back are all going to just be ones. And then we have these flowers, which are your fate tokens, which are basically how you pay for your characters. And again, it's kind of a little bit of a limited resource. And then the last type of token we have is we have actually our 5 rings, which we have an uncontested and a contested side. And you want to try at certain points to gain each one of these because they give you additional benefits. So that's very cool there. How the game is played, let's just look at the phases quick. So we have the Dynasty phase. Gain Fate, play characters from provinces. So basically setting up your board. Draw phase, big for honor to draw cards. This is a really neat mechanic for drawing cards, which I think is fun. 3 is our conflict phase. Conflict phase, declare conflicts, contest imperial favor. And this can actually be broken up into 2 different ways you do attack people. It's basically you're doing it diplomatic or you're doing it war. Like, I don't remember what the exact names are for it, but it's kind of neat because either you're going and you're having a civil discussion, like sit down in like a tea house or whatever, or in front of whoever in their court, and you're having a conversation. You're trying to diplomatically discuss stuff, or you can have a war or a battle. And each one are basically played the exact same, like how they work, depending on which you choose. But certain characters have better values for either one. So you got some of these guys are like 0s, 1-1. So this guy's a little bit stronger in combat versus that. This guy's better in combat versus diplomacy. And you're going to get down some of the different guys. And this might be certain clans are better at one thing than the other. This guy's like 7 for battling, but 2 for defense. But if I switch over to like this guy's gonna not be very good in combat, but he's going to be very good at talking and discussing stuff. So it's kind of a neat element. So it's not like an attack defense necessarily. It's the same stat, but you might choose to pick one thing that you're doing better than your opponent. So that's a really fun mechanic, and we'll get a little bit more into that in a minute. Then we have step 4's Fate phase. Discard characters, remove fate, and add fate to unclaimed rings. So this is another really cool mechanic of the game. Anytime you summon a character for their cost up at the top, like this guy says he has 0 up here, we'll get these a little bit more, you can play additional fate on them to keep them around longer. So unlike most games, you play a character or a card or a creature, minion, monster, whatever they're called in the game, they stay out until something removes them from the board or they are defeated in some way. These cards, everyone stays on as long as they have enough fate. They're already on borrowed time as soon as you play them. So if you have, let's say, 5 fate to spend, you could play a 2-cost character and keep them out for 3 extra turns, or you could play a bigger 5-cost character to use on that turn, and then he's going to go away. So it's kind of a neat mechanic and system to manage your resources. And then 5, we have regroup phase. Ready your cards, discard cards from provinces, and pass the first player token. So there's none of this stuff where like, oh, I attacked you on this turn, now this guy's not available on my next turn. Everyone, as long as they're alive at the end of combats, or not removed by other effects, are ready to go during your next step. So every time you start off each turn, although the other player starts first, you each start back with like, instead of everything's full, everything's ready to go. So there's none of that stuff of having to like worry about, oh, do I not do something with this character because I might need them to defend on my next turn? Nope. So that's kind of a neat little, I guess. Military and politics are the difference. Battle, but military and politics. So yeah, that's basically how that goes. So before we get into too much more on some of the rules, I just go look at some more rules quick. Look at how we start up setting up the deck. They do have some suggested decks in here. You're going to create a pool of all your different dishonored cards, tokens, all that fun stuff. Shuffle your Dynasty and Conflict decks. Place your provinces in Stronghold. Each player secretly selects one of their province cards, places it face down above their Dynasty deck, and then places their Stronghold. So you only have one Stronghold. And the player places the other 4 provinces face down between their Dynasty. So your Stronghold is basically going to be what your deck is. So if you have like the Crane Stronghold, you're going to have a Crane deck. If you're going to have a Dragon Stronghold, you're going to have a Dragon deck. It's basically much. There are deck building options that let you mix in other clans, but there are rules to that. But typically, generally your main deck is going to be whatever your Stronghold is going to be. So yeah, you place one province here face down. So say province on them, and there'll be a bunch of different ones. There's some clan specific, some generic. Then you place the other ones face down. Then you fill your provinces with your Dynasty cards. So you place one face down on each one. So when you start off the turn, you don't know what you have under there. Now, you do have the option at the beginning of the game to look at each one, decide if you want to keep it or not. Basically a mulligan, get rid of them, place some new ones after. After that, you don't have any other option for the rest of the game to look at them without a special card effect. So this is a neat mechanic as well, because it kind of acts as sort of like a hand for you that's on the table at all times. But you don't always have access to all the information in your quote-unquote hand. It's kind of neat. And then drawing phase, you draw 4 cards from your conflict deck. These are typically used during the conflict phase to help win conflicts. There might be other ways to play these. So your hand is just your battle cards, more or less. Then at the start, you gain honor. So you have honor based on your various stronghold. And then it's also going to have a number here with fate, showing how much fate you gain each turn. So yeah, that's more or less the idea of it. So before we jump into some of how the gameplay works, I want to look at some of the cards. I'm not going to go through every card again, so I'll do that in a later video, but I do want to go through the basis what is on each card, so we have an idea. So we do have our 7 clans. Each will have different colors and different symbols. So we have Crab is kind of gray, Crane is a light blue, Dragon is green, Lion is yellow, Phoenix is orange, Scorpion is red, and Unicorn is purple. So these will be our 5 different colors. There are also ones with little waves on them that are colorless, which can be put in any deck freely. So yeah, you'll build each one. Each one has their own strengths and weaknesses, things they like to do. Some of them like to attack more, some like to be more diplomatic. Some have sneakier techniques, some do other different things. But then each one here, so we have Stronghold for each one, which is a Stronghold at the top. It also has a plus number to give you a bonus basically to its defense when you play it. So again, you can see how each one has a different thing. So we're just going to look at the Crab one for the moment, just to see an idea of what's all on here. So that way when we start talking about the rules, we have an idea of what it is. So yeah, up here at the top we have the name, the Shiro Nishiyama. I'm going to mess up a lot of these names, I promise you, because they are Asian, Japanese, Chinese, mixed somewhere between. If they have a little star by them, that means they're a unique title. So that means there should only be one of these in a game at a time. I have to double check to see if the rule states that you can only have one unique regular character at a time. I believe you can, but I have to double check that for sure. So other basic stuff we have, of course, down here we have Illustrator, year the game came out, we have set and card number, obvious stuff. We have a subtype Castle. So there will be different ones that will have various keywords on there that may reference to other things. So we do have like a castle. Crane has a city. We have a castle, a shrine. We have another castle, a city, and outpost. So very different ones. And then they have abilities. Various ones. This says action during a conflict. Bow the stronghold. Each defending character you control gets +1 military and +1 political until the end of conflict. So bowing is just turning it sideways, tapping, exhausting, whatever you want to call it for the game. So this is kind of a neat little ability on this one. Basically, you can bow this resource to gain a boost to one of your stats. So this will give us 10 honor at the beginning of the game. And then each turn you'll get 7 fate to spend. And now this 10 here, the little bamboo, this is for deck building. This is just showing how many bamboo you can spend to add cards from additional clans. So it's kind of a neat thing. And we'll see that when we look at a character card. So I'm going to look at another one of these things. We're going to look at the unicorn on the other one. So we have +0 on our stronghold. Doesn't have any extra defenses, but it's the Golden Plains Outpost. Action. During a military conflict, bow this stronghold. Choose a cavalry unit you control and move it to that conflict. So the other one gave a bonus to anybody for whatever side you were doing. This one's only going to help you during military, but it's going to let you add an additional cavalry unit, which will be a keyword on one of the characters, to add it in there. Otherwise, this has the same stats. I'm guessing because this is the starter set, they're all going to have 7 fate in there, but they do have some 11s and 12s and 10s, some different honors, and some different defense stats. So that's pretty cool. So those are our different strongholds. And then we have our provinces. So if we look at our crane one, they're going to be shaped a little bit differently. I mean, not shaped, but they're going to be designed a little bit different. So that's force is basically its strength. When we get into attacking, we'll learn exactly what that means. But this is for the crane. So this is defend the wall. So, like, when you get attacked, you'll eventually flip this over, and people just see which one you're going against. So the first time they're attacking a province, they're not going to know what its stats are, so they're not going to know how much force to send against it. And this says reaction. After you win a conflict at this province, resolve the ring effect of that conflict as if you're the attacking player. This is kind of a neat idea because if you win, when you attack, and we'll get more of this, you get to pick one of the 5 rings to choose, and you get a bonus from it. Usually if you win, you get this. This means you can even be on the defensive and win and get this bonus. So it's kind of a neat idea. Then again, let's look at another one. If we're going to look at the Phoenix one, it also has 4. It says action. During a conflict with this province, select one. Switch the contested ring with an unclaimed ring. Conflict retains its types. It's still political and military, but you can change it from an air conflict to a fire conflict. Or switch the conflict type and the element remains the same. So instead you could keep it as a fire conflict and then change it from a political to military. So this is a kind of neat way as well. You can kind of like tilt it into favor that your cards work for. So it's a neat mechanic there. And again, we'll look at all these cards more in the next video. I do want to look at one of the just generic ones. We have a manager guardian. Action during a conflict with his province, gain 1 fate. So very simple there. So some of these are a little bit easier. And then we do have like this other one here that we want to look at quick, which is rally to the cause. Reaction after this province is revealed, switch the conflict type. So this is like a one-time effect, but that could potentially definitely help you because again, if your opponent has that like 7-cost military guy, all of a sudden now he has a 1-cost political battle, he's probably going to lose it, or you're at least not going to have to spend as much. So pretty cool. So we get a bunch of those. So we do have, again, one for each different color, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other ones. So yeah, you'll get one for your clan, and then one for someone as you buy more packs. You'll get more additional things. Other things we didn't look at is we have honored and dishonored tokens. So basically, they're just going to like mess with you. If they get played on your character, if they get honored, they're going to gain a bonus. So I'd add this character's glory to its military and political spells. Force interrupt when this character leaves play, gain 1 honor. So you're going to get some extra thing there. And then you can get a dishonor token. So subtract this character's glory from its military and political skill. And then force interrupt when this character leaves play, lose 1 honor. So yeah, you definitely don't want to be honored in battle and then lose, because then you'll leave. Alright, so let's look at some of our characters. So we have a character here from our Dynasty deck. This is a very simple one. This is Eagle Scout. So this is from the Crab again. So he's going to have a 0 cost to play. Comes in very cheap, but he has no battling stuff in there. So he's not going to help directly do anything for you. with your attacking or defending. But there might be things that'll boost them up, or various other things like that. Or at bare minimum, you can always probably at least throw them in there as a defense. I was trying to find... Then the other number we have here at the little 0, this is their glories. This is used during conflict. Basically, it means that after the end of the conflict, you get to add up all your characters that you control, and basically whoever has the higher glory gains the imperial favor. So it's like there's one emperor or imperial that kind of like rules all the 7 clans. And you're always trying to kind of bide for their attention or affection. And then you get to special imperial cards. So basically, whoever has the most gains this card. They can either gain an additional political or a military might. So winning battles or having more guys out does definitely kind of affect the game as well. Yeah, it just kind of helps in that little boost there. Let's take a look at another character. We're going to look at another one from the Crab Clan, just so we have some more information. So this one here had Bushi and Scout. Here's another generic one. Hida Guardian. Here's Bushi is 1. He has 1 for political and 1 for military might, and a 1 glory. It says action. While this character is participating in a conflict, choose another participating character until the end of their conflict. That character gets +2 or and +2 for each holding you control. So this is exactly where this would come in handy, right? Great, you play this guy for fairly cheap. Then you can play this guy, and then as long as they're both participating in conflict, you can give that guy a +2. So now you'd have a total of 3 on either one. And it's for each holding you control. So you might end up having 2 or 3 holdings, so he might get a higher boost. So that's kind of a cool mechanic there as well. So a character are one of the 2 different types of cards. The other types, let's look at a more powerful character here really quick. Just to see what a more powerful crab character looks like. We have, this has a 5 cost, and it has a little unique icon. It's a Hida Kisada. So we just saw it last guy as the Hida Guardian. So the Hida are it's like their last names. So this guy's, in English you'd say this is Kisada Hida, or Hida. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. But yeah, it's their group. So they have lots of times, they have guardians or people that work for them. So this guy has a 7 military and 2 political, but he has 0 glory. It says Bushi and Champion. Well, you have no loss of conflict in this phase. Cancel the effects of the first action ability your opponent triggers from a card during each conflict. So yeah, basically if you're doing multiple conflicts in a thing, as long as you haven't lost one yet, you get cancel the effects of the first action ability your opponent triggers from a card in each conflict. So it's kind of a good, powerful character to get out, because you can stop stuff. But like I mentioned before, when you pay for their cost, you also have to put additional fake tokens on them to keep them around. So if you only pay the 5 to put him out, he's going to last for that one battle or conflict. But if you put, let's say you have 10 tokens and you can drop him out and keep around for 5 turns, he's going to be very powerful, because he's going to stop at bare minimum at least the first action of every conflict your opponent tries to play for 5 turns, unless they find some other way to get rid of them. So yeah, it's pretty interesting that you can do stuff like that. Then another card we have are holdings. This is the other type of card we get in the Dynasty deck. They're either going to be characters or holdings. So holdings are, when they flip over on the province, they will stay on there. Where characters you can purchase and you can get up to use for various things, the holdings will stay on there and basically give boost to it. So this is the Borderlands Fortification. It's a battlefield. It gives your holding, your province +2. So if I threw it on the defend the wall, it would now have a 6 defending amount. It says action. Choose a card in one of your provinces. Switch this holding with that card. So cool. So this is a way for me to swap it to a different location if I need to. And there's a bunch of different ones like that. Now some groups have more or less than others. And that's just how that's going to go. So the other thing we did want to look, I just want to look at another character from another group, just so we have an idea. So here's a Scorpion character who has a 2 cost, 1 military, 2 political with a 1 glory. It's a blackmail artist, a courtier. So courtiers are generally people that tend to do more political stuff, and then the bushi tend to do more of the military stuff. So reaction, after this character wins a political conflict, take 1 honor from your opponent. So that's a really neat way too. So if you happen to win this, boom, they get some extra bonuses. Another one, I did want to just shuffle as we're looking at it right there, is the Shuji Illusionist. So it's 2 with a 1 and 3. It has Shugenja Air. So basically, Shugenjas are magicians or magic users in this world. And then Air is one of the different types they do. Again, these always have keywords to click off of other things. So action, spend 1 fate, choose a character to discard a status token from that character. So cool. So you can use him to help get rid of other things. And you're going to have a bunch of different characters that do these in different stuff, and the different elements do different things as well. We'll also have generic characters that don't have a clan. So this one can't even has a dash. It can't even do military conflicts at all. So if that one first guy had 0-0, he could do them. He has ways to boost them. She would never gain more military. So this is Akamo Courier. So a courier for the Imperial. This character cannot participate in conflicts as an attacker against a player that controls the Imperial favor. So she won't even attack at all. So that's pretty cool. And we get a bunch of different ones of those as well, and we'll get some holdings for those. So we get some generic cards. So that is an idea of what our Dynasty deck looks like. I want to take a look at a couple of the political ones so you can see it, or the conflicts, and see some of the conflict ones do. So here's a conflict. I'm going to jump into, let's look at different groups. So we have a Dragon Clan Warrior. So it's a character, 1 cost, 2/2. So all the same information, monk, tattooed. You may play this character as an attachment with the text. Attached character gains covert. So cool, you can basically give an extra keyword to a person. We could also end up getting someone like a unique character like Kogashi Kazu. It's 3 costs with 3 and 3. Monk and tattooed. So the Dragon Clan have lots of tattooed effects on them. You may play this card as an attachment with the attack action. During a conflict with an attached character is participating, choose another participant character, move 1 fate from that character to the attached character. So this is kind of a cool one, because basically when you attach this to somebody else, you're basically either playing this character as a 3/3, or you can put it on somebody else to give that character an ability. And again, let's say if we had our 1 or a 0-0 from right off the bat. Great, so he's still a 0-0, but now he has the action that he could steal fate from other characters and keep him out. Or if you put him with that big 7-1 we had, right, you could keep attacking, he could keep staying out but just stealing 1 every turn. So that's pretty cool. Then the other type of card we get in the conflict deck we get attachments, which are actually just attachments. These are like weapons and items. So we have cost 1 to play this, has +2, and then it says Ancestral. When this card leaves play, return it to your hand, and restricted, no more than 2 restricted attachments per character. So this one's a very simple one. It just gives you a bonus military might. We have one for Daimono's Favor. So it does 0, cost 0/0, but it's a condition attached to a character you control. Action, bow this attachment to reduce the cost of the next attachment you play on this character, this phase, by 1. So basically a free card, but you can make something a little bit cheaper, which is very cool. Then the other type, and I'm going to jump to a different color for this, is we have event cards. So event cards come in, and they don't have any military thing. They're basically one-time use. They come in, they do stuff. Reaction, after its opponent's card effect. After opponent's card effect or ring effect bows a character you control, ready that character. So kind of cool. So the Lion Clan can help keep your guys ready for battle. Another one in here is Steady Your Ground. Interrupt, when on a character you control leave play, discard that character's status token. So if they have a status token, like they're honored or dishonored, you can get rid of them to keep them in play. Then the third kind we get, it's still an event card, but we do see these occasionally are philosophy cards. So they're the Way of the Lion. Action during a conflict, choose a character, a lion character, double that character's base skill until the end of the conflict. So philosophies are just, they're still events, they're just special ones that do various things. And again, we're going to get all these cards in every single different clan, as well as we'll also get some unique ones as well. Or, not unique, untied to anything else. So that's for different types of cards. So in the Dynasty deck, you will always have your characters and your holdings, basically playing characters, and then making your provinces stronger. And then your conflict deck, you'll have characters, but then you'll have attachments and events to make your character stronger, make your character stronger with the attachments, or you'll be able to build up or play one-time effects. So those are your different card types. Alright, so we want to kind of look at how you actually play the game. Alright, so we're going to kind of run through these. So, Dynasty phase is first reveal cards face down your province. So if you have any face down, beginning of the game, all of them are face down. But then so we kind of skip over this, once cards are played, character's play is refilled by taking a card from the Dynasty deck without looking at it and place it face down. So if I bought 2 cards from my Dynasty pile on the board, down from my provinces, I would now get to refill both of those spots. So that way I'd have more to keep buying, except those guys would be face down. So if I have 5 cards showing, I can only buy a maximum of 5 cards in a turn. Then I have to wait till my next turn. So this is kind of also a neat way, like, having, like, it takes away from that element in lots of card games where you can, like, dig through your deck really quick and get a bunch of stuff. Or find certain cards, it's like, it doesn't matter, because there might be cards that let you find stuff, which is always helpful. But, like, since most of your cards, they go face down, you have to wait till your next turn to get to them, and then you won't know what they are until there. So it kind of, like, evens it out a little bit. Collect fate equal to the more in your stronghold card. Play characters from province. And then it says, in playing order, players alternate opportunity to deal into the following. Play a character card from the provinces, trigger the appropriate ability. Note at this time, players cannot play attachments or cards. So what's also neat, I guess I kind of glossed over on this a little bit, is first player goes, then the second player goes. You basically play the game at the same time, and then you have like a round, and then the next player starts. But then you do the exact same thing. So it's not player 1 gets to do all their stuff, then player 2 gets to do all their stuff. You kind of go back and forth, at least a little bit. Yeah, so the first player to pass gains a fate. So that way it's not like, oh, I play a bunch of stuff, I attacked you, you, like, defeated a bunch of my guys, or I lost a bunch of my guys in the conflict, or whatever. Now my turn, I'm starting off weaker, now you get to go. Nope, you both get the chance to refund stuff. So that's pretty cool. Then again, we said playing cards. You just move them up to your home phase and you play them. Again, guy costs 5. You can play an additional 3 to keep them out for longer. So it says, place additional fate. Placing additional fate on a character is an investment in the character's future impact upon the game. The best way to leverage impact is to invest in your most powerful and important characters. Placing 3 fate on a character at a cost of 1 grants you 3 additional turns for a 1 cost impact. While placing the same 3 fate on a 4 cost grants you 3 additional turns of 4 cost impact. And to maximize the impact of additional fate spent is an important strategic concept. Also keep in mind, any fate a player does not spend means that players pull from round to round. So if you have extra fate, you don't have to immediately use it. Hold on to it so you can use it later. So it's not like you have 7 at the beginning of your turn and that's all you can spend. So you can hold on for a little bit if you need to. Then we mentioned playing holdings, just basically boost your stuff. Then we come to the draw step, and this is a really cool idea. Draw phase represents plotting and scheming clans as they prepare for conflicts ahead. In this phase, each player determines how honorably they intend to act during the upcoming phase of the round. Essentially, they're bidding their honor in order to draw more cards from their conflict deck. These cards kept in the player's hand represent scheming, agendas, and tactics and tricks and stuff. So it's just a 4-step. Each player secretly selects a number between 1 and 5 on their honor. Deals a selection. The player selected a higher number gives your opponent the amount of honor equal to the difference between the two numbers. Both players selected the same no honor, then each player draws a card. So that is what our fun little dials are for. So if I'm like, I need a bunch of cards, I really need a good hand, I could say, I'm going to draw 4 cards. And my opponent's like, I didn't do much last turn, I'm going to play 1. So then we reveal them. Now I owe them 3 honor, because I wanted to draw more cards, so they get 3 of my honor. And again, this is an important thing to remember, because if you hit 25, you win the game. So drawing a ton of conflict cards every turn while your opponent doesn't draw many, unless that's giving you the advantage of breaking provinces quicker, it's just giving away your honor, which means they are getting closer and closer to winning, and you're losing honor, so that means you're closer and closer to losing. So you kind of got to balance that out as well. This game, again, has lots of simplified things, but when stacked upon each other, it becomes a very intricate game. That's basically it. So then draw and refill. During the game, players are frequently instructed to draw cards and refill providences. Cards are drawn from a player's conflict deck or added to a hand. Provinces are filled face down. If you run out of cards, if any player attempts to refill a card onto a province, when a guy's deck or draw a card from the conflict deck and no cards remain, that player loses 5 honor, then shuffles a corresponding deck discard pile and places it face new and then continues. So that's, again, if you start playing too many cards or drawing through or discarding through them too fast to find certain cards, you're going to keep losing honor, right? And again, like, if you do this and you give your opponent 3 honor, and then next turn you have to just run out of cards because you drew 4 extra cards, now it means that turn you lost 8 honor, which doesn't maybe seem much, but when you only have 25, that starts to become a chunk very quickly. And that's honor, but it's kind of just, think about, like, whether your opponent's position, they can leverage more cards. Like, are you happy with the cards in your hand? They seem they'll be useful. If you like your hand, you might consider bidding low to preserve, acquire more honor. If you feel you need more options, you might bid high to draw more cards. Plus how much honor you have, and stuff like that. Or you could do it in an attempt to try and prevent them. You think they're going to draw 5, so you might just pick 5 anyhow, because in that way, hey, you both draw 5, you don't lose any honor. Then we jump to the conflict phase, which is the big core chunk of the game. In this phase, each player will have a chance to initiate conflicts against their opponent. After these conflicts have resolved, the player will compare glory and attempt to earn imperial favor. Each conflict is indicated by 2 different ways. The element type, there are the 5 elements: air, earth, fire, water, and void. So these were our little tokens here. So, water, helpful like this way. Water, wind, air, mountain, or earth, fire, and void. And then a type 2 type of conflict, political or military. Conflict opportunities. Starting with the first player and alternating back and forth. Each player has the opportunity to declare conflict against their opponents and provinces. Each player is permitted 2 such opportunities during this phase in a listed order. So, even though you can do this back and forth, you only need to do it twice. So the first player has the opportunity to declare and resolve a conflict, then the second player goes. And then the first player goes, and the second player goes, and then it's done. So you could do 2 political, 2 military, or you could do 1 political, then military, or military, then political, or, those different options. Player always has the option of passing and declaring a conflict during the turn, but doing so relinquishes that conflict opportunity. So it's kind of neat. So it's not like I have 40 characters. I can go ahead and make 40 different attacks. Like, you can attack with multiple guys in a turn, but you get attack once, and if you do really well and your opponent does bad, you don't just get to keep piling on them and piling on them. So attacking characters, defending players, basically it's pretty simple there. It's broken down into 4 steps, pretty simple. Conflict declaration: the attacker determines which characters are attacking, where they are attacking, so which province, and how they're attacking. Air, like whatever element and whatever type. And then your defenders are declared. Defender decides who they want to defend with, if they want to defend. Conflict actions. Players alternate using abilities in an attempt to gain the upper hand. And then the resolution. This is pretty simple. Pick who you're going to attack, defenders, play cards to boost or hinder your opponents, and then go. So, declare the types. For example, I declare political fire conflict. Then take the unclaimed ring token of the declared element and place it on the opponent's declared type face up. This indicates which province is being attacked. The player is not permitted to declare an element type that is not unclaimed in the ring pool. A player can declare conflict against an opponent's stronghold province unless 3 or more of the opponent's provinces are broken. So, just a sec, if we flip back to our main page, we have 5 provinces down, or 4 provinces down here. You have to break 3 of your opponents down here before you can attack their final base. Pretty simple. And then the rings are going to have different abilities and different kind of effects. So depending on what, in certain cards might say, if you have this ring, you can do this or this. So yeah, it's... So yeah, there's various rings that will, like, have interactions. You basically have to kind of compete for that. And then it says down here, declare which ready characters under the attacking player's control are being committed as attackers. Slide them forward in a separate from their non-committed characters. At least one character must be declared in order to initiate conflict. Although you can, again, add more than one if you like. Just the thing is going to be the more you add in your... So if it's my first attack and I add 4 of my 5 characters, that means I have 1 character left for defending the other 2 conflicts that my opponent could declare, and for my second attack. So yeah, although you might shovel everyone out right away and you might win the first one, but the thing is, if I'm attack with 5 people in 1 province, I might break their 1 province. But again, if I have 2 other things that I can't defend against, they can turn around and break 2 of mine. So this, again, back and forth. The above are considered to be performed simultaneously. If any of the above cannot be completed, the initiate cannot be completed. So basically, it's saying if you can't declare a type for some reason, or if you can't, there are no rings to claim for some reason, or you have no ready characters for some reason, you cannot do it. The conflict where the province is being attacked is face down. Turn the province face up. May trigger effects that impact on the game. So yes, again, when you first see them, we saw that one earlier that had a reaction, which could definitely mess with stuff. Then step 2, declare defendings. The player declares which ready characters. Again, not bowed characters. So there are cards you can play throughout the game. When you're playing your characters, it might bow other characters here and there. So they might be bowed before the conflict phase. Slide them forward to show which your design. No character dash cannot participate in a conflict of that type, which we looked at that as well. Then we have conflict actions. During this step, players take turn using actions to influence the conflict and gain the upper hand. The defending player has first opportunity to act, and the opportunity alternates back and forth between them. So the defending players can see what's on the board and have the opportunity to decide what to do. Activating ability on one of their cards. Action may be triggered from a character, an attachment, or from an unbroken face-up province, or from a holding or stronghold. The player may also play event cards with an action ability from their hand. The way of the crane is an example of an action ability that can be identified by the big action thing. So right there, you can give your controller character honor. Play an attachment card from their hand by paying its cost and attaching it to a character. Once it's in play, attachment modifies the character, but it may provide additional abilities. So unlike characters, you have to play additional fate on. When you play an attachment, you do not, or a character as an attachment, you do not have to pay additional fate to keep them in play. Play a character from their hand by paying its cost. The character's controller may place it in the conflict participating side or in the home area. Now again, these can only be played with your conflict cards. So that's why we have warriors in conflict. So you can also say, boom, add an extra guy into battle. Ones that are in your dynasty, that are already on your field, you won't know about. The controller may choose to place any amount of fate on them, or you can pass. After using one of the above actions, the player should announce the total relevance still represented both sides of the conflict, so it would be counted. So basically, it's like if I have my first character out, I have a 1, and I play a thing that gives him, he gives like one of my other guys +2/+2, right? So I use this action because I put 2 guys out. I give that initial guy we have at the 0/0. So now I have 3 out, right? So if I had both of these guys out and I use my action to give him up to 3, I would want to mention that. Like, I now have 3, and then my opponent knows what to do. It's just kind of a good general thing. You could be like, oh, everyone should be paying attention, but it's just helpful, like, so your opponent knows what you're doing. Then resolution is pretty simple. During military, use military still. Political, use political still. Each player determines a total still, matching cards, conflicts after you're done, boosting your characters, or reducing characters, doing anything else. A bowed character is not counted still. So if there is something during a conflict that bows another character, it takes them out of combat. In case of tie, the conflict is won by the attacking player. If the conflict is tied, both players counting 0 still, the conflict is resolved with no winner. So if you can reduce the player's still to 0, you can stop it from happening too. If there are no defending characters in the conflict ready or bowed at the time the still is counted, the attacking player wins the conflict. The conflict is considered unopposed. If the conflict resolves unopposed, the defending player loses 1 honor. If the attacking player wins, check to see if the province breaks. If the defending player wins the conflict, the province does not break and there is no ring effect. The player has prevented the attacker from making headway and defended their land. The player who won the conflict now claims a contested ring and adds it to their claimed pool. If no players won a conflict, it remains unclaimed. So, pretty simple. If you win as the attacker, you just see if you break the province. If it's unopposed, your opponent loses an honor. So they might not want to just be like, I'm going to let this go through, because it also hurts them that way too. End of the conflict. Once all effects of the winning conflict have been resolved, each character in the conflict bows and returns their home. The conflict is now over. Both players either declared or passed each of their conflict phases. It goes to the Imperial favor. So now what is neat about this is, so like, during the game, your province characters, your dynasty characters, have the 1 back. Once they're in play, they're going to look like this, right? Boom. But then when you play your conflict characters, they're going to look like this, right? But now, after a combat, they're all the same. There's nothing that's going to differentiate them in any way or shape to be a conflict card or a dynasty card. They're just a character card after that. So it's a way you can always play, even if you're going to lose, you could potentially play a bigger character from your hand in like your first battle, or your defending phase. You could play them from your conflict hand to get them out. They're not going to be ready to use for your next turn, but they'll be ready for your next round. Breaking provinces. If the attacking player wins a conflict, check to see if the defending province is broken. If the attacking player won the conflict by a amount of skill equal to or greater than the province strength. So here you need 5 to break one of those. So here you got to have 4 to break one of those. So as long as 4 damage got through, you would win that thing. Cards on province, let me turn it upside down if it gets broken. Cards, abilities on broken provinces cannot be used and conflicts cannot be declared against it. Remains of the game for the rest of the turn. Why don't you just remove it, you ask? It says, because players are still able to play cards from the broken provinces or play space down cards. It's just so you keep track of how many spots you have, more or less. If an attacking player was a conflict that breaks a province, that player may discard the dynasty card in that province. Then the player then refills the base down. So you can always get rid of whatever card was there. And then we have some ring effects here. So each time an attacker wins a conflict, regardless of whether or not the province is broken, that player may choose to resolve the ring effect on the element. So, again, neat little extra effect. Air, the attacking player takes 1 honor from their opponent or gains 2 honor. Earth, attacking player draws a card from their conflict deck and discards 1 card at random from their opponent's hand. Fire, the attacking player chooses a character and honors or dishonors that character. Water, the attacking player either chooses a character and readies it, or chooses a character with no fate on it and bows it. Or Void, the attacking player chooses 1 character and with 1 fate from that character. So this is kind of what you're vying for. It's just extra little additional effects. Extra honor, which helps you either win or lose the game. The Earth lets you get an extra card, but also limits your opponent's hand, for especially it's kind of nice for the first conflict. Fire adds honor or dishonor, so you can either boost or decreasing a character's effectiveness. Water Let's either ready a character or potentially bow one of your opponent's weaker characters so they can't be used during the next conflict. And then void, an attacking character chooses to remove one fate, so I can always get rid of them as well. So there are 4 conflict opportunities, 2 attacking, 2 defending. So which conflicts are most important to win and prioritize accordingly. Sometimes it's better to concede on a conflict you don't care much, but losing in exchange for a greater chances of winning. In order to initiate conflict is also important. Is your first conflict probing an attack aimed at gathering information, or is a heavy strike needed success to take control? In choosing a ring, consider the effect you would like to achieve as well as the possibility of denying the effect to your opponent. Sometimes preventing the opponent's an optimal play. And finally, keep all possible outcomes in mind. What would happen if the attacking player wins? The defending player wins. So that's also just, lots of interesting stuff. Again, very simple game with a lot of extra rules in here. So here's just a quick overview. So player 1 decides to play this character face forward. They're attacking this province with the air, and then this person's defending. So very simple there. Then we have some extra cool things happening. So 5, let's players declared their participating character. The defending player has the first opportunity to take an action. Tom uses his opportunity to play an event card, court games, and chooses to dishonor Christina's Ashiana storyteller, removing the honor status token, reduces her political skill from 6 to 4. She's getting your extra bonus on there. The total political skill on your side is now 4, and Tom's remains at 2. So checking our blue numbers, we have a 4 and a 2. Now Christina's turn to take action. She plays an event card Outwit, targeting Matsu Biona. This event sends Matsu home, removing him from the conflict. The total political skill remains at 4, and Tom's is now 0. So right there, just got through the conflict without even attacking. Now it's Tom's turn to take action. He passes on a way of changing the outcome. He has no way of getting another character back into the game or decreasing Christina's to 0. She also passes since she has no reason to do anything else. She could, however, if she had a way to increase her gain to 5, but she doesn't. So Tom loses 1 honor because the conflict was unopposed, and Trent's position has a strength of 5, and Christina only won the conflict by 4, so it does not break. Christina resolves the air effect. She's 1 honor from Tom. Claims ring of air and places next to her stronghold. Then she vows now the conflict over. Again, if she could have upped her thing by 1 by any means, she could have re-honored her character, anything. She could have broke that province. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, if she would have played something, then the other guy could have tried to back it down. Here we mentioned the Imperial Favor. We talked about that a little bit earlier. You just get that card there to get you the extra bonus, which can be vital. Right, if she had the favor at the time, she'd get 1 extra political, which would have been enough. Phase 5 is our Fate phase. Start of the Fate phase, each character has no Fate and tokens is discarded. This occurs in player order. When a character is discarded, place a discard from associated deck which originated from. So this is the only time when your characters on the field now matter again, being Dynasty and Conflict, because they go back to their respective decks in case you have to reshuffle them. Then each player in order removes 1 Fate from each remaining character they control. Finally, place 1 Fate from the general pool token on each unclaimed ring. Note when a player selects a ring with Fate on it, as a contested ring of conflict, the attacking player takes all Fate in the ring. So the longer a ring goes uncontested, the more extra Fate someone can get. So this is another way to play cards. Then we have our regroup phase, which is the end. Each player readies each card, so all their battle characters now ready. They can discard unwanted card from provinces. In player order, players may discard any number of face-up cards on their unbroken provinces. Each player must discard all face-up cards on their broken provinces. Replace these discard cards with face-down cards from the Dynasty deck. Turn all unclaimed rings to the pool. And pass the first player token. Strategy for discarding. This is a step for you to replace any Dynasty cards you don't feel are going to help you in the upcoming rounds. Discarding cards in this manner provides you the opportunity to replace new cards. This is, again, basically your extra hand for the turn. So if you have a bunch of high-cost cards that maybe you just can't afford, you might get rid of them, hope you get something new. Or if you have, even just as a good example, we had our basic one here, 0. Early turn, awesome, really helpful. But again, if you don't have something to boost him, is he worth keeping out and having him ready to go? When you only get so many cards, because we go back, you only have 4 spots open. So is he worth one of your 4 slots if you don't have an additional card out on the play that might boost him up? It might not be worth it. It might be worth getting rid of him, hoping for something else. If your provinces are broken, you're flipped upside down, you have to discard them. So it makes that also an interesting idea, is because that means during your next turn, right, if you don't play them cards, you're going to lose them. All the rest of them you could keep. So, like, example, if this one got broken, I would have to either player or loser on my next turn. So that does also change some of your choices, right? It's like, oh, great, my really cool 5-cost character finally came in, but he unfortunately got flipped up onto a broken province. So now I either have to play him immediately, which might not have been what I wanted to do my next turn. I might have had other options I wanted to do, or I have to not do stuff. And the other thing you also have to remember is anything you spend during your dynasty phase when you're playing stuff means that's less fate you have to play your cards during conflict as well. So again, if you only have 5 things and you play a 5-cost guy, that means you have no fate left to play your conflict cards. So it's an interesting dual system. Alright, so now it's the basic rules of how to play the game. Alright, so we went through all the basic stuff. There's some deck building stuff we kind of talked about here, so we'll kind of jump through this. So 1 stronghold, 5 provinces. Your dynasty deck should be about 40 or 45 cards. Conflict is the same, and you can have a roll card. A player must choose exactly 1 stronghold. Any card of the affiliation that matches a stronghold is said to be in clan. Player may use 1 roll card. Look at those. We got them here. So we have 1 for each different element, and they're double-sided. They just basically give you extra, like, in-game abilities. So they're kind of a neat thing. We'll look at that in video part 2. Minimum of 40 cards, maximum of 45. Must be in clan or neutral. A neutral card has no clan affiliation. A conflict deck must contain 40 to 45 and the same thing. Says each of these cards must be in clan, be neutral, or be purchased from a single other clan using influence. So your dynasty deck will always only be your color. Your conflict deck could have stuff from other colors. So if we kind of look at that right here, it says each stronghold provides a controller with a number of influence. It can be used during deck building. Other clan form a single clan. Many conflicts has influence cost shown at the bottom of the cards. Each bamboo stock indicates 1 point of influence, the combined influence. So again, if we look at one of our first strongholds we looked at, we have Yashiro Nishiyama has 10 bamboo on it, so it gives us 10 points to spend. And then, if we look at one of our conflict outside of crane cards, we have, in the dragon, we have Let Go. It has 2 bamboo on the bottom. So that would cost me 2. So if we have a bunch that all cost 2, means you could only have 5. So like this one doesn't have any bamboo on it. So it means you can't even include that in there. So not every card is available. And then we are going to get some with have 1s. And we have some that have 3. So if you only have 10 points, you can have 3 with 3 cost and a 1 cost. So that only gets you 4 extra cards. But you get some that are a little bit more powerful or interesting. You could have 10 1-cost cards if you wanted. Or you could have 5 2-cost cards or whatever mix. But also remember those costs is part of your deck. So if you put 10 1-costs, that means you'd have 10 cards that are from a different clan that aren't yours. A player cannot include more than 10 character cards in a conflict deck. No more than 3 copies of a single card by title can be included in any combination of a dynasty or conflict deck. A player's set of provinces must include exactly 5 provinces, because there's exactly 1 province associated with each ring. Each province has a ring symbol in the lower corner of the card to indicate association. Each province must be in clan or neutral. No more than 1 copy of each province by title may be included. So what does that mean exactly? So on the bottom of each one, we're going to have the little symbol for each element. So if I am playing my province here of defend the wall with my crab, it's a mountain, I have to have one of the other, I have to have the other types in here. Basically how that works. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically with the starting deck, you're going to get 1 set of one set of the other. So you're going to have one here, and then you're going to pick the other 4 elements, and the other player's going to get the other 4 elements. They only have enough there, but as you buy extra sets, you'll have more cards. When deck building, building decks for 1 player, and when a single core set, the minimum Dynasty and Conflict decks is size 30, so they do reduce it. To build decks for 2 players from a single core set, divide the neutral cards evenly among players, as in the tutorial game. Use all the cards and influence points. So what that basically means is, want to mention this. Every single, or pretty much every single expansion pack or expansion box you buy will have 3 copies of every card, with the exception of strongholds and I think some of the non-neutral provinces, or for something that's a one of a kind. Because the idea is you can have up to 3 cards in every deck. So you buy an expansion, you have enough to put as many cards as you like into each deck. The starter deck, on the other hand, does not do that. They have 1 copy of every single card except for neutral cards, which they have 2 copies of. So the idea is you can have 1 in one player's deck, 1 player in the other. So if you truly want to have the full experience of everything, you almost have to buy 3 starter sets. That way you have 3 copies of every card. The only downside to that is it also means you're going to have 6 copies of each of the neutral cards, and you're going to have 6 copies of the strongholds and provinces, which you can only have 1 of each anyhow. Granted, I don't know if you necessarily have to buy 3. You would almost be recommended, if you really want to play and be able to use all these cards fairly efficiently, so maybe at least buy a second set, just because in that way, every deck has the option of at least 2 cards. So that way you get, there are some cards you might want 3 of, lots of cards you might only want 1 of, depending on who they are, especially if you start buying expansions. Early on, can you get by with just the 1? Sure. And you might need to just mix and match and make your own decks as you need to go. Cool. So that's the basics for deck building. The rest of the book here kind of just starts talking about each clan. Kind of says what they all do. I'm not going to go into them too much. Or really, I'm not going to go into them at all. We do have some appendices in here which go over different keywords. Just which haven't come up. I like to go over them during the other stuff. I do want to look at honored here, though. So, during the course of play, certain effects may cause a character to become either honored or dishonored. This is represented by perception that the Rokugan society has taken about the characters. So, we had the little honored and dishonored cards. Characters can exist in one of the 3 states: honored, ordinary, or dishonored. A character that is honored receives honored status token and its glory value in both its military and political skill, as long as it possesses that token. When an honor token character leaves play, its controller gains 1 honor. Character is dishonored, receives a dishonored status, subtracts its glory value from both its military and political skills, as long as it's possessed in a token. When it leaves play, it's dishonored. When an honored character becomes dishonored, it loses its honor status, discards tokens, and becomes the ordinary. Likewise, when a dishonored character becomes honored, it loses, it becomes ordinary. Character with an honorary status cannot become honored, and a character with dishonored cannot become dishonored. So, that's kind of neat with these cards here. I'll just hold one up here quick. So it says, add this character's glory to its military and political skill. So, if we grab, let me grab a character that actually has a number. So that means if this character is honored, their glory is 2, so now they are a 6/5 instead. So that's pretty cool. It's a great way to boost up a character. We saw that in the example. They removed that, so it got rid of the extra bonus. If they were dishonored, though, they'd subtract it, so that means they'd be a 2/1 instead. So honoring and dishonoring characters can be a very strong way to also boost up your different stuff. Alright, and there's the index of all the different cards, all that stuff. Cool. So that is what we have for Legend of the 5 Rings, the game. So yeah, come back for video part 2, maybe be part 3. I might end up breaking up the conflict deck into a third video, just because there's a lot of cards to go through. Again, because this is just the Dynasty deck, and there's only 1 copy of each card in here. So I'll probably do a second video with the Dynasty stuff, and then a third one with the conflict deck, and break it up just a little bit to make it a little bit more manageable than this long-ass video we just did. But thanks for watching. Hit me up in the comments. If you'd like to see anything else, check out the other videos. See you guys later. Bye.